We are starting our day off with today are the Page of Cups in its reversal in combination with our King of Pentacles in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about the energy that we're effectively seeing right now, because something that we're noticing that is very important has to do with working through the context of being able to articulate or amplify the full force or weight of our own energetic intentions. Now, one of the things that we see that's often occurring, particularly as it relates to Aquarian energy, is working into this space of identifying and recognizing our own sense of energetic stabilization. There's a lot of vulnerability that we are effectively identifying or recognizing that is happening right now in the shape of the sense of the self. Now, why are we effectively identifying upon that? Because a lot of that work that we are effectively seeing is working into it's a continuation point of working into that Jupiter in Cancer in retrograde, right? It's the observation or the understanding of working through energetic vulnerability, but not just the space of working through vulnerability. It's the recognition of understanding the vulnerability that effectively allows for the space by which we're able to effectively help another person like energetically see ourselves, right? It's difficult, right? It's heavy. It's working into that space of it's working on the space of it's working into the space of the clarification of the heart space. And so one of the things that we see here, particularly with the Page of Cups in its reversal, in combination with the King of Pentacles in its reversal, it continues us through that observation of being able to facilitate upon or to experience those modalities, circumstances, or situations by which we're able to effectively articulate upon how we feel about things. And I want to describe, and there's something really beautiful that I will point out that we may be finding right now that occurs as we're moving through this Aquarian energy. And the best way I can describe it is um, Aquarian energy often helps us recognize the force of like the shape of beauty in relationality to our own I like to describe like our own flow state is what is the best way to describe it, right? Because when we find an energetic flow state, and this is what's hard, and I want to kind of stress this because it's a continuation of understanding what happens? Like, why do we like the space by which we do something over and over and over again? And when you first start doing something, it feels it feels impossible, right? When you first start doing something, you don't know how you're doing it. And then you do it again and again and again and again. And as you continue to do it, you start to build into that energetic smoothness point, right? It becomes a part of you. It becomes a part of the self that one understands intrinsically. And then what's beautiful about that is once you're able to find that flow state, that others are able to affect. It's energetically frustrating. It can sometimes create those modalities or experiences or we feel our own frustration in terms or in relation to our own doubting of the self. And that's the one thing I want to kind of like articulate or expand upon, right? Those modalities or experiences, and I like to point this out, like a healthy heart space is often a heart space that is in a perpetual state of doubt, right? Because when we're working to fortify our hearts, we're constantly being very, very conscientious of them, right? We're constantly being in the space by which we question ourselves or we question our own abilities. But that's why I want to kind of, and if you're feeling the weight of that right now, I want you to remember, I really want you to hold on to the fact of understanding that our, like, it has to do with the sense of our own genuineness or the genuineness that we bring to others that feels like an energetic gift. So working into that right now, I feel like those are the words that we're effectively working through during this Aquarian season, right? It's working into it's working into the space by which we feel, right? That sense of we feel that sense of genuineness and vulnerability, but also in the space by which we identify that genuineness and vulnerability, we allow the ability to effectively move something forward within ourselves even further, right? And that's what's hard about it, because when you're building into genuineness, you have to be able to confront the vulnerability of the self in the process. Now, that is really important right now because, as we articulated, we're entering into a new relationship cycle right now. And that new relationship cycle that we see that is occurring are giving strong indications of being energy that is working through world lessons, right? And these are these are lessons that we see demarcated in the world card of the tarot. And what do those messages bring us? They bring us the space of being able to identify and recognize, right? The modality by which we're able to identify and recognize that the space by which we're able to do multiple things is often the articulation or the description of being able to effectively recognize or identify how to effectively find, right? How to find our truest voice or how to find our truest self that allows the modality by which we ourselves are able to amplify or articulate what is energetically possible, right? It's a lot of that. I keep on hearing it's a lot of that modality or that experience by which we're able to expand and expound upon something. And then, even in the process by which we expand and expound upon it, we arrive, right? We arrive into the deeper understanding and exploration of our energetic relationships and connections. And so that's what we effectively see that is occurring right now. This is the energy, right? This is the energy that we see that is coming into healthy relationship right now. And what are those modalities that we are effectively articulating upon? We're either seeing modalities or experiences, right? Wherein we are identifying and recognizing the state or the shape by which we ourselves are working upon an observation of what it is that we're working through, right? This is the energy that articulates. Like, they start at their vulnerability point, right? They start at their vulnerability point. They start at the modality by which they themselves feel the most energetically insecure or the most energetically uncertain. But in the modality by which they're doing that, they're building into the healthy connection by way of being able to articulate and recognize the force or the shape of their own energetic intention, right? So there's a lot of that. I keep on seeing there's a lot of that expansiveness there. There's a lot of that energy that feels, right? It feels very much like it's taking that effective approach by which something is able to work towards the space of healthy growth. But, like, even in that modality or experience, we just keep on seeing that these relationships, right? Like, it's almost like the energy, like the relationships are starting, like they're starting with the deep dive of the self, right? That's where they're starting with. Which is, again, right? Like, that's like it's the deep dive of the self that leads to the point of personal expansiveness. Now, this is bringing us into those the moon relationships. And the moon relationships were effectively coming together. They were effectively coming together between the time. They were coming together between the time of the Capricorn new moon energy that we just experienced up until the time of Uranus stationing direct earlier this fall. Center card for today's spread. We have here the 8 of Cups in its upright. And so what are we seeing right now with that 8 of Cups energy in its upright? The 8 of Cups energy in its upright walks us through modalities or experiences by which we recognize or identify um, the shape or the direction by which we feel energetically fortified. And everything I keep on seeing with a lot of these moon relationships is I feel like it's a continuation of a conversation based upon and built upon the ability, and I love to see this right now because for a lot of those moon relationships, um, the ability to identify, right? The ability to identify a personal hurdle often articulates or allows the ability to navigate and extrapolate upon how we're able to effectively do something in a better way. And what's really beautiful about that is for a lot of those, I keep on getting, for a lot of those moon relationships, that that observation or that capacity of understanding, I just keep on seeing that these are relationships that are working into, right? They're working into the context of personal understanding. And even in the context by which they're working into that space of personal understanding, I just keep on seeing this observational point, right? There's this observational point that we're recognizing that is, and I love this because and I often like I want to stress this, especially with this 8 of Cups energy that we see here. Um, this card can often feel very energetically ubiquitous, right? There's often that space by which we see this card and we wonder about the ubiquity of the card. But the modality of understanding the force of our energetic intention is the modality by which I keep on hearing we don't feel the necessity point in being able to effectively articulate or expand or expound upon something in a way that feels energetically off, right? And that's what I keep on getting. That's what I keep on getting with a lot of that's what I keep on getting with a lot of these energetic connections. There's almost this observation that we're seeing there, specifically as it relates to working into a modality or experience by which we can effectively understand or recognize um the space by which we are effectively working through. And I like this too, because for some of these relationships, I feel like for some of these relationships that have been coming together during that time, you'll have to remember I told you that these were the relationships that were coming together during that retrograde cycle. So there was a lot of rockiness there, right? Like a lot of rockiness or working through a lot of that frustration. But I keep on identifying that for a lot of the relationships, not getting into the space by which another person feels like it's like the energy that works towards observation as it relates to the energetic appreciation or consideration that we put forth towards things is all I keep on seeing, right? Like that's a lot of that energy that I'm almost identifying that we're recognizing and seeing there, right? It almost like I feel like it's the energy that it's the energy that observes, right? It's the energy that observes consideration, but also observes hard work. And the work that they do it's the work that they do for one another that allows for that energetic smoothness to occur, right? there's a lot of that calibration or a lot of that articulation as it relates to the piece that they're building forth. And so I actually feel like for a lot of those relationships, they're finally reaching a point by which they can finally start to enjoy the fact that they're moving into partnership. Now, for the fourth and fifth cards in our five card spread today, two cards to clarify. We've got here the Queen of Pentacles in its upright in combination with our Six of Cups in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing in relationality to the Queen of Pentacles with the Six of Cups in its reversal. The Queen of Pentacles, and this is moving us into those temperance relationships. And those temperance relationships were effectively coming together between the time they were coming together between the time of Uranus stationing retrograde up until the solstice period that we had this summer. For a lot of these relationships right now, I feel like the frustration point that they're effectively arriving to has a lot to do with the modality or the experience of um, working through the observation of trying to effectively apply time in the best way possible is what I keep on seeing. And then there's something I need to if you are again, if you are a tarot nerd, I would strongly encourage you to make sure that you head over today's spread because one of the things that we see in this first five card spread today that's very energetically important is we see the observation of both the King of Pentacles in its reversal with the Queen of Pentacles in its upright. Now, this is really energetically important. And why do we see that this is important? Because I know, like, one thing we identify that's beautiful in relationality to counterpart systems is the counterpart systems do not always need to be in the same modality, right? That's why they're counterparts. It's actually sometimes it's better when we see the observation of one being in its reversal and one being in its upright, because it's the articulation of being able to understand what it means, like what it means to effectively attenuate to something, right? The observation of being able to, like, when one person is feeling like, again, it's the observation of like when one person is feeling energetically tired, another person can effectively step forth, right? It's a lot of that healthy give and take. And so this is what we effectively see that's happening right now for a lot of those temperance relationships. It's the observation, right? It's the observation and consideration of the healthy give and take that we effectively identify and work upon with one another that allows the observation of being able to energetically facilitate. So that's all I keep on hearing in relationality or in terms of those connections, right? Healthy give and take that allows the ability to effectively facilitate. So everything we keep on seeing there it's beautiful. I feel like it's beautiful and it's energetically harmonious, but the hard part about that I'm potentially seeing is working through the modality of and I keep on getting this with a lot of that, like, this is what I keep on seeing with a lot of those temperance relationships. And I would not be surprised if some of these temperance relationships right now are working through, like, working through the modality or the experience, um, by which one is able to effectively recognize or identify how I keep on hearing recognize or identify, um, the ability to effectively, um, like, it has to do with navigating others' projections. Like, that's what I keep on seeing that's happening right now for a lot of those temperance relationships. And I just want to describe, like, this is why something about that may be feeling energetically painful because when you're doing work, like, I just keep on hearing, like, and when you're doing work to effectively try to facilitate everything energetically possible, right? And then even in the modality, like, this is actually a continuation. I need to stress this. This is a continuation of what we were effectively seeing that was occurring for some of the feminine energy. in some of our daily collectives over the last few months, which is the observation of when you're moving into the modality of effectively doing everything energetically possible to try to work as comprehensively as possible is all I keep on saying. So when you're in that space by which you're working as effectively and comprehensively as possible, but even in the modality, right? Even in the modality by which you're working through that space of functionality and comprehension, feeling those modalities or those experiences by which we recognize or identify the space or the shape by which another person energetically projects upon us. I keep on getting that that's a lot of the energy that is building into, right? Like, I feel like that's just the energy that's kind of working through the observation that moments like that are more the gift is information is what I keep on hearing, right? The gift is information. And why is the gift information? Because the gift is the observation of being able to see or identify circumstances or experiences by which one isn't like one is like the energy doesn't feel like the space by which we ourselves don't feel like we are seen in the capacity by which we ourselves want to be, like it's the space by which we're working. So I feel like that's a lot of the energy that's kind of working through that, and I feel like there's a little bit of that, like, there's a little bit of that exposition towards working through frustration, but even in the modality by which they're expressing it, they're finding that feeling of that sense of energetic stabilization. Now continuing to get clarification between our Page of Cups in its reversal and our King of Pentacles in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with that Fool card in its reversal. So what are we effectively seeing right now with the Fool card in its reversal? The Fool card in its reversal, and actually I typically am not, so I like to see the Fool card in its reversal to a certain extent because the Fool card in its reversal is working through, and this is what I mean about some of these world relationships, right? The ability to navigate into like the space by which we move towards manifestation. It's not the journey by which we seek something. It's not the journey by which we look upon something. It's the journey by which we effectively embody it, right? Like we arrive, like we come into the space, right? And this is what we talk about with healthy manifestations, right? You don't seek them, you energetically become them, right? You work into the space of being able to recognize and identify what that value or what that point of energetic stabilization is. So everything I keep on seeing that is occurring in those modalities or experiences is building into, I keep wondering, it's building into articulating and defining upon what feels like a healthy, energetic center. And what's beautiful about that is I feel like for a lot of those relationships that are coming together right now, it's the observation that one doesn't necessarily need to be perfect in order to facilitate moving into healthy partnership connection, but it's the energy that recognizes or identifies what it is, like how one is being able to be energetically productive, right? It's a lot of that observation, right? And I feel like in a way, you know, like this is the energy that is effectively like identifying what the shape of that work is. And I want to describe for some of that energy, it is also requiring like the space of being able to step out of their comfort zone, right? We're gonna be talking a lot about this. Like, this is what we talk about with Uranus and Taurus, right? The only way to find a healthy comfort zone, a bigger comfort zone, is to be able to step out from the one that we feel energetically comfortable within. So we see that that's a lot of the shape that's being identified in a lot of that path work right now. But even in the modality by which we see that, I keep on getting like, and I want to describe these relationships, right? Like, it's almost saying to me, like, it's a little bit goes a long way kind of energy, right? It's the energy that, like, understands, and I like to see this with these relationships because this is either energy that's working into the context of the self, right? Energy in solitude, saying pushing upon the self in the best way possible, right? Pushing upon oneself in the best way possible, but not trying to escape, the self, right? While at the same time, we see that for a lot of these relationships that are coming together, that is the force or that is the intention by which they themselves are experiencing one another, right? The almost like the attenuated observation of another, like I keep wondering the attenuated observation of another, carefully like moving out of their comfort zone is what I keep on seeing. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Eight of Cups in its upright. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now with our Judgment card in its reversal. So, what are we effectively seeing with that Judgment card in its reversal? The Judgment card in its reversal speaks to us upon circumstances and situations by which, and I want to describe this here, and this is bringing us back into those moon relationships, right? Because the moon relationships are effectively articulated and attenuated upon the space by which we recognize or identify the uncertainty, right? It's like working through the energetic uncertainty of the self. But this is what we identify, and this is what we talk about with vulnerability, right? Like this is what's beautiful about some of those moon relationships. These are relationships, these are relationships that own their vulnerability, right? Because it's a continuation of understanding that the space by which we own our vulnerability becomes our strong suit, right? The more that we're able to effectively own our vulnerability, the stronger that we energetically become. And so I keep on getting this is the energy that's going owning vulnerability, not going numb, owning vulnerability, not going numb, which is the modality or the experience by which they're allowing themselves, right? And this is what I keep on getting, right? They're allowing themselves to feel vulnerable, right? They're allowing those modalities or experiences by which they allow that vulnerability. Like I keep on hearing like lead forth with the vulnerability, but in a way it almost feels like kind of like an into the breach situation as it relates to navigating that vulnerability because it's a work that I see that the energy is facilitating, right? In being able to articulate upon something that I feel like in the past they may have had a harder time speaking upon, right? Like, I keep on getting, it's interesting because it's working it's a lot of I keep wondering it's a lot of healthy conversation and navigating discomfort is what I keep on hearing, but that's how the healing occurs, right? Navigating uncomfortability is how we build into comfortability. And even in the space by which we do that, it allows the expansive point by which we're able to effectively do something even better. So there's a lot of that energy there. While continuing into right now for the energy for the energy moving deep into divine union right now, and those are those temperance relationships. Clarification between our Eight of Cups in its upright in combination with our Queen of Pentacles. Can I get one card to clarify, please? Woo! Clarification coming through right now with that Knight of Cups energy in its upright. So, what are we effectively seeing with the Knight of Cups in its upright? The Knight of Cups in its upright for the temperance relationships. Like, I just keep on seeing this right now for the Knight of Cups energy. And what's beautiful about it, and I want to stress this because I feel like this is really important. Um, the observation and recognition of another, like energetically appreciating, like the work, the work that we like. I keep wondering, like the work that we do for one another is what I keep on getting, right? And it's interesting too because I actually feel like for some of these relationships right now, this almost feels like I need to stress there's something happening right now for some of these temperance relationships where it almost feels like, and I want to describe this, it almost feels like healthy energy supporting into like a temperance relationship. is what I keep on seeing. You know what I mean? Like, it's so fascinating because there's something about the shape and nature of that work that I'm seeing that this temperance relationship is coming through on, which is like, and I wanna describe this, like, I just need to, like, I need to pause on this because it feels like it's coming through really, really strongly. The modality by which, right, and I keep on getting this, um, the shape, like, the best way I can describe this is when another person, like, I'm gonna try to give you the shape of what I'm seeing here. When another person is literally doing everything they possibly can to, like, move with a sense of healthy energetic intention, right? Like that modality or that experience by which another person is literally in the space by which they're trying to facilitate everything under the sun to be possible. And even in the modality by which another person experiences that, they work into the context, right? Like, it's the observation of I keep wondering, like, the criticism that often comes towards energy that is working, like, tirelessly, right? I almost feel like there's something kind of beautiful there because it almost feels like energy arriving outside of partnership to try to clarify to another, right, the observation of another person's misinterpretation or misintention. You know, like it really it feels almost like that. It feels a little bit of that. It almost feels like that space by which, it's like it almost feels like another person like protecting the aura of partnership, which is interesting because and I feel like for some of those temperance relationships, they might not even be aware of something like that energetically occurring is what I keep on seeing. Like it feels very protective. Is it's very interesting. I'm going to continue to read into it. Moving back moving into moving back towards the energy that is in solitude. So those world relationships right now. Can I please get one card? Clarification between the Queen of Pentacles and the Six of Cups in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. We're seeing here the Chariot card in its reversal. And what are we identifying? Like what are we identifying with that Chariot card in its reversal? The Chariot card in its reversal, the Chariot card in its reversal for some of that energy right now, I feel like this is a lot of the energy in solitude. I've got 2 different modalities for the energy in, like, working through this path work, which is either the energy that is working and learning on not being so hard on themselves, is what I keep on hearing. Like, everything I keep on hearing for a lot of these world relationships is the observation that you are never off your path, right? You're even in that modality or that experience by which we ourselves work through something, like the space by which we feel energetically stabilized towards our path work, right? That identification point by which we ourselves identify and recognize the space by which we feel stable. And I keep on getting this. And I think that this is really important. Um, Particularly and especially because everything that I'm observing, and it has to do with that continuation of what we articulated related to Jupiter, right? Related to Jupiter, being like related to Jupiter being in Cancer in retrograde. So working through a lot of those observations of feeling or experiencing the energetic sensitivity of self. I keep on getting the modality by which we energetically question ourselves, or the modality or the experience by which we ourselves doubt like our own progress. But the modality by which we effectively continue, right? We just continue through something in a way that builds into that feeling of energetic stabilization, right? Like it says to me, it's almost like the shape of that work that articulates upon or defines everything that we're trying to do, but not just what we're trying to do, the shape or nature of how we energetically do it. And so I keep on getting that that is like that's a lot of the energy in solitude that's perpetually building into the space of their own energetic improvement. And I keep on hearing, remember that the continuation of the lesson that we saw for those moon relationships had a lot to do with the observation of the healthy centering of self, right? The healthy centering of self that builds into the context of our own stated sense of intentionality, right? The work that we're trying to do and how we're trying to do it, but also the recognition of what aspects of the self that they adore about the selves versus those spaces or places by which they're healing from others' energetic misconceptions of them. I also see that this is a lot of those relationships that are coming together right now that are building into that context via V stepping out of their comfort zone, continuing to get clarification, moving into those moon relationships, clarification between our Fool card in its reversal and the Judgment card in its reversal. One card to clarify, we have here the 10 of Cups in its reversal. So, what are we seeing in relationality to a lot of that 10 of Cups energy? A lot of that 10 of Cups energy that we're identifying or recognizing has to do, I keep wondering, has to do with the force of intention in relationality to being able to apply the point of energetic consideration towards the space by which we ourselves are working through energetic frustration. And one of the things I keep on seeing in some of this energy right now, like a lot of that, I keep on getting a lot of that energetic frustration has to do with working into the context of I keep on hearing like it's working into the context of, like, doubting the self or working into the context of effectively recognizing or working through the energetic limitation that we often feel with energy such as this, right? That modality or circumstance by which we ourselves are trying to facilitate and articulate upon that healthy sense of energetic centering. And everything I keep on seeing in relationality to that force of balance, right? Everything we keep on seeing in that modality or in that experience, it articulates to me that there's something that we see with those moon relationships, which has to do with letting go, right? They're letting go of the trauma of others' misperceptions that is allowing them to effectively step into, right? Like stepping into their own sense of energetic celebration. And I keep on getting a lot of that a lot of that celebration that we see there. It feels a lot like the work of those moon relationships that are trying to like and I want to describe this. This is the energy that often is able to always find, right? Like they're always working to find the energetic positive for one another, right? Like this is what's so beautiful about it. It's a lot of that sense or a lot of that space by which they effectively facilitate and articulate upon everything they try, like everything that they do, but not just everything that they do, the ability of being able to come into that point or valuation of positivity. And even in the modality by which they work into that point of positivity, I just keep on seeing that that's a lot of the energy that's like working into the space of the open heart space because it's a space by which they're trying to effectively communicate how much they energetically care upon, like care for one another. And so I feel like that's what's so beautiful about that because it's a continuation point of a lot of those energetic lessons. It's the ability to effectively articulate and define upon it, but not just, I keep wondering, they're defining upon it so that they can refine upon it, right? They're talking more about the history in relationship that has created the space of disappointment. And what do we see is a lot of the trauma that some of those moon relationships are carrying the modality by which they often felt that anything they did was not enough, right? Like having to work through the trauma space by which another person doesn't build into, like, I keep wondering, like, doesn't build into the energetic appreciation, but the space by which another was not coming into the recognition of their own ability or capacity to work in that way. And so that's what I keep on getting there. Like there's a lot of that energy that is almost like communicating their relief to one another. And the reason that they're communicating their relief to one another is because they see, right? They see the capacity or the ability by which they're always working towards that energetic positive outcome. Continuing now to those temperance relationships, clarification between our judgment card in its reversal and the Knight of Cups in its upright. We have here the Four of Cups in its upright. And so what are we seeing there? What are we seeing with the Four of Cups in its upright? The Four of Cups in its upright speaks to us specifically and particularly in relationality to situations or observations of being able, and I have to stress this, there's so much cup energy here. And there's like this whole spread right now. Again, if you like the tarot, make sure that you take a look at today's spread because it is all cup energy. And the reason we see so much of that cup energy right now is it's building into or it's working through the circumstance or experience by which we recognize and navigate situations and circumstances in the space by which we energetically, like the space by which we energetically recognize or we attenuate upon something in such a way that allows for the capacity of energetic growth to occur. And I want to just show you this because I kind of love I love the synchronization point, right? I absolutely adore the synchronization point of combining the Eight of Cups with the Four of Cups in its upright. And why do I love the synchronization point between the Eight of Cups and the Four of Cups? Because the Eight of Cups, right? The Eight of Cups is missing a cup, right? This is the cup that's missing, right? And this is the cup that's found. Okay. I love to see these two cards together because the interplay of these cards is often talking to us about the observation that energy is neither created nor destroyed, right? It's the observation or the recognition that when we're working through, and this is what we have to recognize or identify as it relates to working into the context of manifestation, right? The observation and it's like this is why we talk about like the one of the things that you have to move away from when you're building into a healthy manifestation is waiting for the perfect circumstance, right? It's not the space by which one looks at a circumstance and says, "Oh, this isn't the perfect place." It's the observation of the effort that one is able to put in, right? The effort that one is able to put into a circumstance or situation that allows the space of it becoming more energetically ideal, right? And so that observation, right? This is what we see in it's a conversation, and this is what I keep on getting with these temperance relationships. The observation that we're effectively identifying with a lot of these circumstances is the energy that values and appreciates the fact that these are energies that are perpetually building into, right? They're building into the fertile ground in the relationship, right? They're perpetually working through it. They're perpetually articulating upon it. They're perpetually coming into the space by which they're able to be energetically adaptable. And even in the space by which they're working upon that adaptability, it's the space by which they're able to arrive into those modalities or those experiences by which they're perpetually building into the sense of energetic consideration. And this is what we do, right? This is what we do with healthy manifestation. Healthy manifestation isn't the space that you go, where is it, right? It's not the space by which you look around and try to identify the circumstances, but it's the ability of being able to see something and say, how can I make this? Like, how can I make this more perfect towards the manifestation goal, right? That's how we pull the manifestation goal towards us instead of coming into the state of seeking it outside of the self. Now, continuing on this path work and clarification between our Knight of Cups in its upright in combination with our Chariot card in its reversal. Can I get one card to clarify, please? We have here the Knight of Wands in its reversal. So, what are we effectively seeing that's happening right now for a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations and circumstances that we're identifying and recognizing are working through a lot of this energy? A lot of those relationships are effectively facilitating and identifying. This is going back into those relationships that are working through solitude points right now. And everything I keep on seeing for a lot of those relationships that are building into the context of the self. And it's interesting too, because this is more of the energy that's in solitude, building into those world relationships that are I keep on getting they're identifying themselves, right? Like, these are the energies that are identifying themselves as, right? They're identifying themselves as the space by which they themselves are working through things. And I keep on getting, like, this is the energy that is getting better at articulating upon their needs. And why are they getting better at articulating upon their needs? Because a need stated is a need met. And the more that we're able to energetically articulate upon our needs is the space or the ability or the capacity by which we're able to effectively articulate to another what that is. And I keep on getting that even in that space by which we identify or recognize, right? For a lot of the energy that effectively facilitates upon that work, I just keep on seeing the energy that, like, that is the comfort zone that they're stepping out of, right? That is the ability by which they're working to amplify and articulate upon something. But I keep on hearing they're amplifying and they're articulating upon something in such a way that they're trying to, like, I keep on hearing, and I just keep on hearing the same message. I keep on hearing the same message coming through in a lot of those relationships or a lot of those situations, which is when we are articulating from a place of clear manifestation goals as it relates to relationship, right? Healthy relationship is never going to have an aversion to the direction that we hope a relationship can go towards, is all I keep on seeing, right? The modality by which we articulate or refine or define upon something is the space by which we're able to navigate the place of possibility. And this is what I keep on getting. And it's happening different. I need to stress it. It's like, it feels like for a lot of that energy, um, I feel like this is the energy that's just continuing to say that the work that they're doing, to be very clear in terms of what it is that they're seeking from a relationship, is a shield, right? It's a shield. Because when we articulate what our desires are in relationship and another person has aversion towards it, that's not rejection. That's the shield that works, right? That's not rejection. That's the shield that works. And the reason that it's the shield that works is it's because it's when we think about it like that, right? When we think of our manifestation as a shield, then somebody who doesn't like it is going to make you feel energetically rejected in the space by which you articulate it. And that's a good thing, right? That's a positive thing. That's the best thing that could potentially energetically happen. Well, in the modality by which we experience that, right? This is why we get into the space of understanding and recognizing ourselves or feeling the ability by which we ourselves feel energetically grounded, because those modalities or those abilities by which we feel that sense of energetic determination building into the context of healthy stabilization. I just keep on hearing that this is either energy in separation or in solitude that's healing from the falsehood of separation by identifying that they're not in separation, right? They're not in separation because they know what their manifestation goals are. So you're not in separation when you know what your manifestation goals are. You're in a state of preparation and waiting is what I keep on seeing. And I see that this is the energy that is working through the state or the space of identifying or recognizing the valuation, right? The valuation or the energetic power by which they themselves are effectively working through. But what's interesting about that is even in in the context of building into the healthy relationship, that state or that space by which they are able to articulate, like, I just keep on getting the same message coming through, which is like, this is like the energy that's pushing out of their comfort zone and finding that sense of energetic relief, right? I keep on hearing finally someone who gets it, or finally someone that also feels the same way that I do. Continuing to get clarification between our 10 of cups in its reversal with our 4 of cups in its upright. We've got here the page of pentacles in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about this page of pentacles here, because the page of pentacles, I want to define the page of pentacles that we see here in its reversal has a lot to do, and I want to describe that this is often what happens in the context of being able to recognize or identify and this is moving us back into those moon relationships. The page of pentacles in its reversal speaks to us specifically upon the significance or the importance or the valuation point of our own energetic sense of clarity. And this is what I feel, this is what I keep on getting is a little bit difficult for some of these moon relationships. That adaptability or that energetic power by which they themselves are working through something, but not even in the space by which they're trying to work through something. I just keep on getting the same message that's coming through, which is the energy that effectively articulates and states that when we are in a place by which we're doing everything energetically possible, then the modality by which we understand or navigate our own sense of energetic frustration, it allows the context by which we ourselves feel fortified. And so that's what I keep on getting with that judgment card in its reversal, with the page of pentacles in its reversal. It's identifying and recognizing the facilitation point or the shape of that work. It's the refinement point. And that's what I keep on seeing that's so beautiful about those moon relationships. They see one another and they articulate to one another and say, through you, I can refine further, right? Through the ability of being in this relationship, like it's the space by which it's already going so well. And even in the modality by which they do something, they're able to even do it in a way that feels even more. I keep on getting like even more, right? Like they're like they don't feel like they have to spend the work in trying to get on the same page. They can get straight to the refinement point. While for the energy that is moving deep within divine union right now, that 4 of cups in its upright with the Knight of Wands in its reversal, we have here the Strength card in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about that Strength card in its reversal, because the Strength card in its reversal has a lot to do, the Strength card in its reversal has a lot to do with working through the energetic vulnerability point of the self. And so the one thing I want to describe, and again, this energy right now feels it feels very Aquarian. And I like to describe when we're going through Aquarian energy, there can be a lot of there's a lot of feelings that come up, right? And a lot of feelings that arrive from the unconscious is what we see. But like what's beautiful about this, and I like to describe it, like when one is doing, right, when one is doing one's shadow work effectively, like, you're not necessarily surprised upon the what you find in the unconscious space, right? Like, this is what we talk about in relationality to knowing the self, right? It's the observation of being able to recognize and identify what the shape of that work is. So for a lot of the energy that is articulating or defining upon this work right now, and I'm coming like, this is coming through specifically with temperance relationships. This is the energy that observes that even when you're doing everything possible to facilitate the best possible outcome for another, right? Even the shape, right? When energy is projecting, even the shape by which you're identifying and articulating that you're doing everything, another person comes into the space by which they feel like they would require more from, right? Like that modality or that experience of energetic dissatisfaction. I keep on seeing that that's a lot of the energy that is working upon the space of healthy communication of the feelings. And everything I keep on seeing in relationality to that healthy communication of the feelings has to do with the modality or the experience of being able to recognize or identify the shape of that work in terms of how it feels. And that's what I keep on getting. It's like they're clarifying things with each other, right? They're building into the space of navigating that heaviness as it relates to another's like inability to effectively feel energetically supportive towards them. But I like this too because I feel like it's equally proportional in energy that feels like they're receiving that from others, like some energy that feels supportive, while some energy it feels like they're experiencing that pushback from. Final card for today's spread between our Page of Pentacles in its reversal in combination with our Strength card in its reversal. We have here the two of Wands in its reversal. So what are we seeing with the Two of Wands in its reversal? The Two of Wands in its reversal speaks to us specifically upon the ability or the way that we energetically communicate, right? Often when we see the Two of Wands in its reversal, it can create, and I want to describe this right now. There is an energy right now that we are navigating that feels by its very nature bleak. Okay? Do not internalize the feeling of bleak energy. And the reason that we're experiencing that right now, and I just want to point this out, we've got a lot of planets that have moved into Aquarius just as we've come into Aquarius season. Pluto is also in Aquarius right now. Okay? So it can create the feeling of things being bleak and dire. Bleak and dire. Okay? Don't internalize that. Be energetically productive through it. Remember and recognize that there can be many things going on under the surface and the force of intention, right? The force of intention by which we apply our energetic sense of proportionality helps us define and describe what it is that we're trying to do most effectively. Don't let it frustrate you. Let it fortify you. Bottom of the deck on this reading, we have here the Hermit card in its reversal. So what are we effectively seeing with the Hermit card in its reversal? I'm just going to tell you right now, the desire, I would not be surprised right now if there's a lot of that energy that feels that desire to pull away from things, right? Feels that like energetic weight in relationality to doing something in some way, shape, or form by which one feels energetically heavy or working through something in a way that one feels that frustration or that energetic awkwardness. Don't allow the energetic space by which you're navigating that over internalization of things to effectively like create a rough patch or to create a space by which you yourself aren't able to be energetically adaptable. Because the thing is, and I need to keep on articulating it, this Hermit card in its reversal can often it often can be the space by which we navigate our own sense of like frustration in terms of direction. But the beauty of that, everything I keep on seeing is that modality or capacity, like Like when we feel awkward, that's where we apply the love is what I keep on hearing, right? Like that's what we recognize, right? The state of our intention, and this is what I keep on getting right now. Like a lot of those spaces by which we build into uncomfortability, right? And then we feel energetically uncomfortable and we want to shrink away from it. But then even in the modality by which we energetically shrink away from it, I like to point this out. When we shrink away from things when we're feeling energetically uncomfortable, we miss the opportunity for another person to put the balm of easement on it. And so I feel like that's something that we see to a certain extent in relationality to being energetically patient, particularly and especially as it relates to feeling or navigating some of this, like I told you, like some of this energy that we're going through that feels it feels like lucid energy, right? It feels kind of like very lucid and still, but even in that space, being energetically productive through it helps us be able to determine and recognize what's on the other side of it. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you so much for being here and receiving these messages. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you would like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site. So I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the World Card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, February 19th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the sword court cards. If you would like to become a part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. You will also, as a paid subscriber, have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. Now, it's not necessary to catch up. I do my best to give you an update on everything we've experienced in the cards, everything we've learned prior to beginning the next class. But if you want to catch up, now is a great time to join, as you have about a month between now and that class to be able to learn anything that you're interested in learning before we proceed. You'll also, if you become a founding member, you'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the whole year's worth of classes, but you'll also receive access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library class archive. And you'll also receive access to a one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my Mystic Meditation articles there, which will give you updates on everything we've seen in the cards. I just wrote one recently on this new moon in Capricorn that we're navigating, as well as heading over to my stack to learn more about a very special retreat that we will be having this August. I would like to invite you to join me as we will be traveling to Italy to learn about the tarot in the context and in the land by which the tarot was first documented to be discovered. We'll be sharpening our tarot skills, and not only will everyone who participates in that retreat receive one-on-one education by me, but you will also have the opportunity of receiving a complimentary mentorship class that will be included in that retreat package. Also, if you sign up for that retreat before the end of this month, you will also receive an additional $200 discount on the full retreat package. You can find out all about that over on my stack or in my tree that has links in it in my bio. Finally, I would like to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level or as a monthly class series, weekly or biweekly as your schedule permits. Also, for my students that are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, I'm very happy to offer weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or biweekly as your schedule permits. And also for my students that are seeking, also very happy to offer dream interpretation readings, which can be purchased per dream or as a series. If you purchase a series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as you will meet weekly or biweekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.